We are on 5A2.
Oh, 5A2. Wow.
Hey Amud Aleph. I uploaded the last shiur, but I uploaded it last night.
How much did you do?
We moved. We covered some ground. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Okay. And we were flying because we had to start late because of the Hachnasat Sefer Torah. We are up to 5A2, and we are learning the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Ezohi ir gdola. What is a big city? Now let's review for 1 second. In the first Mishnah, we learned that a walled city reads on the 15th, that everyone but a walled city should really read on the 14th, except that the krachim, so big city is on the 14th, and every other village, they are makdimim to the Yom HaKnesset, to the assembly day. Okay? So, we use the words ir gdola, a big city. When do they read? They read on the 14th. Es Gemara, obvious question. Ezuhi ir gdola. What is a big city? Kol sheyesh b'asara batlanin. Any city that has 10 people that are paid to sit and learn and not do any other work. Sorry? Kolel, exactly. Pachot mikan. By the way, if anyone would like to sponsor a kolel person in Eretz Israel, because we're learning about how special it is, I've been doing this already for some time. No, I don't do the kolels. I adopt a person. I find a guy who I know is who's sitting and learning every day, and what's it called? And they adopt them, and it's not a huge amount of money. It's about $1,000 a month, roughly, something like that. And usually, if they're there for 3 years, they go through Rabbanut. So basically, for 12 grand a year, $36,000, you actually produce a rabbi, and all the teaching that he does is your zechut. It's tremendous. You can either do Yisachar Zevulun, but it's a de facto Yisachar Zevulun. So if anyone would like to do that, we've already set up, I think it's like four different people who are in the process of becoming Rabbanim. Baruch Hashem. Okay. So the Gemara says, Mikan, what we see from here? Pachot Mikan, less than this, Hareze Kfar. Less than that is a village. If it doesn't have 10 people that are sitting and learning, paid for by the community. Ba'elu amru makdimim velo ma'achrim. For these, we say, you make it earlier and not later, right? What are we talking about? In the Gemara we just mentioned, in the Mishnah that we just mentioned in the first Mishnah, we talked about the idea that in any scenario where the cities, the villages, they had a scenario where they had to move back to the assembly day, they never move forward to the assembly day. They always move backward to assembly day, okay? However, velo ma'achrim, you don't make it after the day of Purim. Aval, but zman atzei hakohanim, u'tisha b'av, chagiga v'hakel, ma'achrim velo makdimim. So what are these cases? The time of the atzei kohanim, there was a korban that was brought. We already had korban etzim in which masechet? Ta'anit. Right at the end of Masechet Ta'anit, we had, when we were talking about the days of what's it called? Of the days that you cannot say Tahanun, that are days of celebration. So you have times which are zmane, which are the times of the korbanot. So in a scenario where it falls out on Shabbat, so when do we go? We move it not to Thursday or Friday, we move it actually to Sunday. Your ma'achrim, we push it forward, v'lo makdimim. What else is like that? Tisha B'Av, same thing. Korban Hagigah also falls out on Shabbat. You don't do Korban Hagigah. Why? Since a Korban Hagigah, the halacha is you're allowed to bring it for all 7 days or a relevant time for the Korban Hagigah, okay? So therefore, if the day is Shabbat, I don't have to do it today, so it doesn't override the Shabbat, and we push it forward to the Sunday, but not backwards. Says the Gemara continues, and Hakel, also Hakel. When is Hakel? Hakel falls out on the year of Shemitah, that you have the night after Sukkot. When Sukkot comes in the next night, you have all the Jewish people there. We gather everyone together. Last year was Hakel, exactly. Chabad makes a huge deal out of it the whole year. Now we don't do exactly.
So it's like
it's an idea. Yes. So what do we do, Hakel? The Melech, the king, stands up and he reads from the Torah on the second night of Sukkot. Okay, there's a whole issue around that we discussed with the king, who realized that when it came time for Hakel, he would not be able to sit in the Azara, and therefore he destroyed the Jewish people rather than come in second place in the story of Hakel. Says the Gemara, Afa pisha amru, even though we say makdimim, you move the day of the Megillah to an earlier reading. V'lo me'achrin, you don't move it later. So you move it from Shabbat to Thursday, or from Wednesday or Tuesday to Monday. Mutarin behesped ubita'anit umatanot le'evyonim. You're able to do hesped. You're able, if someone passes away, you're allowed to give a hesped. Hesped on Purim, you're not allowed to do. But when you move the Megillah to an earlier time, you're not moving Purim. Purim is the same day that it was, 14th. I now moved from the Wednesday to the Monday, or the Tuesday to the Monday. It's just Mikra Megillah, okay? But is that Purim day now, Monday? No. Therefore, on the Monday, if someone passes away, you're allowed to give a hesped, eulogize them, and it's not the halakha that you can't eulogize them as if it was the day of Purim itself. What else? Ubita'anit, if they need to institute a ta'anit, a fast day, no problem. They're allowed to read the Megillah on that day and have a ta'anit because it's not Purim. What else? Umatanot le'evyonim. This is a chidush. How can you give matanot le'evyonim? How does that make sense? Matanot le'evyonim is on Purim. It's a mitzvah of the day.
For the Seudah.
Answer is the Gemara that we read already. The Gemara says that whenever we make the Megillah earlier, we also are makdimin matanot le'evyonim. Why? Because the enehem shel aniyim nisuot lemikra Megillah. They're waiting for Mikra Megillah. They hear about all the things they're going to get, and they get nothing. Not only that, we also explain, on that day, a person is likely to be more generous because they read the Megillah, they know the obligation. So if you do it on a later date, the aniyim are going to miss out in both ways. So therefore, what do? We take matanot le'evyonim and we move it earlier, to the time of the Mikra Megillah, okay? The Gemara leaves out, obviously, what? The Seudat Purim and Mishloach Manot. Why do we leave out Mishloach Manot? Because Mishloach Manot is for the Seudah. So since Mishloach Manot is that you have to remember, today we do baskets with orchids and the tole sets and and candy. At the time, they were sharing their actual meals with one another. So if I made schnitzel, took some of my schnitzel and I gave it to you. And you ate at your meal schnitzel. And what were the Jewish people doing de facto? They were eating one big seudah as a Jewish nation together. As in your food, you're eating my food. That was the achdut that signified the defeat of Haman, that the Jewish people came together, lech kenos et kol ha-Yehudim. So therefore, my friends, this idea of Mishloach Manot also needs to be done on the actual day of Purim. Yes.
Rabbi, question. So the things that you're
Hold up. Someone's asking.
This is a case of Purim Meshulash.
This is not a case of Purim Mishulash. This is a case of Purim Mukdam. So they used to read the Kifarim. They would need to move their Megillah earlier day, either because they had no one to read, or because we wanted them available to be able to be present for preparing the city folk for their Seudah. Okay? Yes. Rafi.
the things that are advanced are, so we can do Megillah, Matanot Le'Evyonim, and Hesped on the day that we read the Megillah early.
Correct.
We're not saying you can do Hesped on Purim itself.
No, never.
Okay, got it.
Okay? Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Ematai, makom shenechnasim b'sheni b'chamishi. When do we have this idea of makdimim only in a place where the people actually come in on the Monday and the Thursday, as we explained last time? However, in a place, makom shenechnasim lo b'sheni lo b'chamishi, they don't go in on Monday and Thursday. Let's say, as an example, they go in every day, or they go in no days. We would not say that just because they're a small village, they already get this concept of makdimim liyom ha'kenisa, right?
Follows the minhag hamakom, so to speak.
Exactly. We would not have a concept that in New York City, which might, let's say, imagine New York City, Manhattan did not have a kollel. Okay? Imagine such a thing was true. I think there is. There is on the west side, you have on the lower east side. But imagine there was no kollel in Manhattan. You have a city with 8 million people, and the halacha would be nidon kakfar. It's not an ir gadol. But they would still not move their reading to Monday, Thursday, because there's no marketplace day to talk of. The whole idea of moving it early is not because your name is Kfar. It's because it's a mitziyut, exactly. We want you available for a market day for the people. And also, we don't want to have to make you come in 2 times one day to read the Megillah on a non-market day and also for the market day, because you're providing a service for the Jewish people by coming in all the time. So therefore, you would read it on the specific day, on the day that it is. Says the Gemara, Tana, Asara batlim shebet hakneset, be'elu amru makdimim ve'eno Velo me'achrim. We taught in the what's it called? In the Mishnah. What do we say? There needs to be in the city asara batlanim. But we learned when we talked about it in the Braita added 2 words. What 2 words are added in this iteration? Could you take a look? What do you think? What are you seeing? What do you think, guys? What is he saying? What is he adding with that? Who cares where they are? There's 10 batlanim. No, Makdimim v'lo ma'achrim is already further.
I would not have thought that it's not in the Bet Knesset. Sorry for the double negative.
So what's the Braita telling you? Okay? So I think the answer is a concept here. Now, let's take a look for 1 second at this note. You see number 19 down at the bottom? He quotes the Shiltot. Okay, you see that? Who are these 10 people? These 10 men filled the following communal positions: 3 judges, 2 collectors of charity, 1 who helped them distribute the charity, 1 sofer, 1 shaliach bedin, 1 gabai, and 1 milamdeh dardiki, 1 teacher of the children. You see that note from the bottom?
Yeah.
So what the Shiltot is telling you, that this number 10, we didn't pull it out of the hat. The 10 people that we have over here, each one of them was necessary for a different communal job. 5A3 at the bottom. 5A3, okay?
Roles.
Number 19. So what we're teaching over here is that these asara batlanim are bebet knesset. They're not that a guy's learning in his house. These are communal roles. And now you understand also, maybe according to the Shiltot, what he's explaining, and I think maybe that's what the spice of the Braita is adding, bebet knesset, is that these are people who are they're here for the community. And what makes it a big city is that it needs all these roles to be filled. Actual pillars of the community.
Is it like something that's kavua? It's not just random guys?
Oh, we already learned that it can't be random guys. But what we're saying here more than the Mishnah is not only that they're paid to do this job, but that they are part and parcel of the communal of the Bet HaKnesset. They're synagogal. They exist in the infrastructure of the Jewish community. You have this amount of people that are judges, and this amount of people that are they collect charity, and this amount of people that this one teaches, and this one shaliach bedin, and this one's a sofer. I always wondered, by the way, when I saw the Shiltot, how come we don't list all the other jobs? How come we don't have a shochet? How come we don't have? Right, it's interesting why that's not there. Okay.
You don't need to eat meat. פת במלח תאכל
Yeah, but אין שמחה לבשר. Where's the mohel?
Wasn't there traveling shochet also? Like they would.
Yeah, you have that, but remember, they also had no refrigeration. So you had a shochet come to town. How long does that help you out for?
No, they did
not for very long.
They salted it, and that's it.
Correct. So I'm saying you'd expect
part and parcel of the actual community, because it could be someone from outside.
No, it can't be someone from outside. What we're talking about is people that are part of running a community.
They're the daily function, and also the perpetuity of.
And at what point do you start hiring for all these positions? When the community gets big enough. And that's the point. When you transition from a village to a Ir Gadol. Now, I don't know why the Shiltot mentions, like I said, he mentions specifically a sofer, and he doesn't say a shochet, doesn't say a mohel, he doesn't say, etc. There's other jobs in the Jewish community that one would imagine. However, the idea, therefore, is still communicated through the added words of the Bet HaKnesset. It's describing that these are not people that sit in their homes, they're people who are here for the community in the Bet Knesset. Okay, let's continue. Be'elu amru makdimim v'lo ma'achrim. My ta'ama, Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Shemuel. By these, we say you go earlier and not later. We don't go after the day of Purim. The question is, why not? How come, if you have it on a Wednesday, which is the closer day for you to read on? Thursday. That's a closer day. How come we don't go one day later instead of 2 days earlier? Or if it's on Sunday, go Monday. Why do you go on Thursday?
Back to the original problem from the original Mishnah.
So the Gemara says, the Amar Kra, the Pasuk says, and we actually saw this then, Velo ya'avor. The pasuk says these are the days of Purim. Velo ya'avor, and you can't go past them, indicating that whenever the chiyuv comes, you can't pass your chiyuv. You're allowed to go earlier to the Day HaKenisah, but even one day later, even if it's the 12th or the 13th or the 14th or the 15th, doesn't make a difference. You always go earlier because of Velo Ya'avor. Rabbi Abba says in the name of Shmuel, Minayin she'en monim yamim l'shanim. Where do we know that we do not count days in order to count years? Now that's a strange expression. But what are we trying to communicate with this concept? When a person is counting the years, the months of the year, right, and we're being me'aber shana, so the way we decide how long a year is by declaring that it is the conclusion of 12 months. We don't say that the amount of days in the year decide how long the year is, and therefore, if we're missing a day, then that's not considered a year because you don't have 354 days, which is the lunar cycle. Shneimar, the pasuk says, "Lechodshei shana," to the months of the year. Chodashim atamoneh l'shanim. You count a year by months, i.e., 12 months makes a full year. V'atamoneh yamim l'shanim, and you do not count a year by its days. V'Rabban de Kesari, the Chachamim from the city of Kesaria, Mishum Rabbi Abba Amru, said in the name of Rabbi Abba, how do we know that we don't count a month by hours? Maybe there's a fixed number of hours, and that's how you know that it's time to move on to the next month. The Gemara says, Shneimar ad chodesh yamim, until a month of days, which teaches us again the same concept, Yamim ata mechashev lechodashim, to count a month. A month is dependent on the amount of days. V'yata mechashev shaot lechadashim. You don't use hours in order to create or in order to calculate a month. Now, all of these teachings were teachings that were not relevant to this, but they were other teachings brought down by the same rabbi, which was Rabbi Abba. Okay. The Mishnah continues.
How much time I know I can go before, like
Earlier than the reading?
Yes.
So we discussed that in the first Mishnah. Each time you go back, but there's bookends of the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Those 5 days, we learned a part and parcel of Mikra Megillah. You can't go beyond because of Lo Ya'avor. You would always go earlier, but you can't go earlier than the 11th, and you can't go later than the 15th. Okay. Aval zeman etzatzei kohanim v'tshei b'av chagiga v'akhel me'achrin v'lo mekdimin. The Mishnah brought all these different things that you go later and not earlier. But the Gemara is now going to ask, how come? Why would we not move it earlier? Just like Megillah, we move earlier. Why don't we move this one earlier? I understand that you have a pasuk that tells you you're not allowed to go later. I understand that. And that was the logic. Because really the question of Gemara doesn't make sense. We just asked, why do you go later? What was the answer?
Don't let it pass.
Because the pasuk says, V'lo ya'avor, you don't let it pass. So now the Gemara asks, how come these other ones, we don't make it earlier, we make it later? Because there's no pasuk. That should be the obvious answer.
Yeah, and a lot of times we say, well, because it's for this, let's also apply it to that.
Right, but there would have to be a connection to these 5 things to the V'lo Ya'avor, which we don't, at least on the surface, have. So the question would be assuming so much.
Not just a connection from those things to Mikra Megillah.
I'm saying all those 5 things would need to be related to Mikra Megillah in order to get that idea of V'lo Ya'avor.
If you say don't let it pass, that by default it's earlier or
By Megillah.
Right.
Where does it say don't let it pass? It says it by Megillah.
Right.
So now the Gemara is asking, how come in the Mishnah, Chagiga, Korban, the Zaman Atzei Kohanim, Tisha B'Av, Hakel, they have nothing to do with Megillah. So the question is, how come they're allowed to be made later? Because they don't have a pasuk that says V'lo Ya'avor. Simples.
Maybe they're just all public gatherings. Maybe that was part of the idea.
They're not all public gatherings. Chagiga is not a public gathering. Tisha B'Av is not. Zaman Atzei Kohanim. These are just laws that we find that are moved in time, and they moved in time after and not before. The Gemara answers, Tisha B'Av, Akdumi Pur'anut lo mekadmi. Tisha B'Av is a punishment. It's a sad time. We don't want to bring it forward. We want to push it off as long as possible. Okay, so therefore that's why we don't move it earlier. Chagiga and Hakel, which happened during a time of gathering together. Mishum da'akati lo mataz man chiyuvayu. You want to do the Chagigah on the Friday, but Chagigah is a korban of the holiday. So it's not yet the time to be able to, to do the korban. So how could you make it earlier? It's not the holiday now. You can make it later, it's the holiday. You have 7 days to do Chagigah. Hakel, you can make it later, it's still the holiday.
But the windows aren't open yet.
But before the holiday, it's a random day. How could you do Hagigah or Hakel earlier? Now, by the way, why don't we have the same question?
Yeah, you can use the same argument on Megillah.
Excellent. Why don't we have the same question for Megillah? You're going to do now reading the Megillah on Monday. When's Purim? Wednesday. She's reading Megillah on a random day. Rafi, you're missing the point here, though. How did we know you could do Megillah on Monday? Zman, Zmanam, Zmanehem. We learned that from the word, it's time. So 11, 12, 13 are it's time. We expanded from the word Zmanehem to indicate that this window is considered its time. Okay?
We redefine time. So
We redefined the time of Purim to be a 5-day window. Anytime you don't have that window, we don't have a zmanam, zmanehem for Chagigah and Hakel, so it's not the day. So if it's not the day, why would you do it earlier? Do it later. And the reason why you do it later is because that is zmanehem. Okay. The Gemara continues. By the way, a good question to ask is also, what do you mean? It's not Shabbat. We're not fasting. The fasting on the Sunday. It's not Shabbat. The answer is that is correct. That is correct. But you can't do it on Shabbat. So either way you go is not zmanam. With Chagigah and Hakel, if you go later, that's the time. Right? Why did the Gemara give this answer for Tisha B'Av? Because the answer is, going before, it's not its time. Going after is also not its time. So why did you choose after and not before? The Gemara needed another answer. I just always wondered why the Gemara didn't reverse the order. It should have answered Chagigah and Hakel first, and then said, how come Tisha B'Av is not the same? And then answered, Mekadme Puranut, Inam Mekadmi. But either way, the Gemara continues. Tana. Chagigah v'chozman Chagigah me'achrin. Chagigah and all, you're able to push it off the entire time of Chagigah. Okay, the Gemara now asks, what does this mean? Bishlema Chagigah. I know what Chagigah, when you say Chagigah, you can move Ti'i mikla b'shabata me'achrin la lebata shabata. You push it off to after Chagigah. Ela zman Chagigah maihi. When the Braita says Chagigah and all the time for Chagigah, you could push off to Sunday. What is the time of Chagigah disassociated from the Chagigah itself? You're telling me that I could push off Chagigah and I could push off the time for Chagigah. What are those two things? Chagigah means I move the Korban and I do it on Sunday. What is the time of Chagigah? What is that express? Amar Rav Oshia explains Kamar. This is what it means. Chagigah b'Shabbat ve'olat re'iyah afilu b'yom tov. Why? Dizman Chagigah me'acharin. Let's explain what this means. Okay? When the time Hagigah, let's say Hagigah falls out on Shabbat. That's what we've been discussing this whole time. Right? That's when you would push. That's the only scenario where you would have to push Hagigah to another place. Let's just review. What do you have? When do you have Korban Hagigah? You guys remember on the night of Pesach? Zecher the Korban Pesach, as we say over the meat. You point, you don't point. Okay, not supposed to point. But then you eat the egg, and what do you say? Zecher the Korban Chagigah. So which korban do you bring on the holiday of Pesach? 2. You bring the korban of Pesach and you bring the korban Hagigah. By the way, people don't know this. What did you eat? You ate the korban Hagigah first, and then you ate the korban Pesach, right? The afikoman, which was ne'echal al hasava. It was eaten already when you were relatively full. Okay? So this concept, you had both korbanot that were brought on that day. And the Gemara now adds to this and says, so when the time of Hagigah falls out on Shabbat, or another korban that is there, a korban which is called Olat Re'iyah. Olat Re'iyah, what does that mean? Shalosh pamim b'shana, yera'eh kol zechurecha. 3 times in the year, all of your males need to be in attendance in the Beit HaMikdash. When is that? B'Chag HaSukkot, B'Chag HaShavuot, and Chag HaMatzot. The 3 holidays, you have an obligation to go up to the Beit HaMikdash. That's different to Hakel. Every holiday, a person had an obligation to go to the Beit HaMikdash, And when you went there, what does it mean? Yera'eh, you will be seen. You will be seen refers to the korban, which was called olat riyah, the olah of being seen. Okay? So when it falls out on Shabbat, or olat riyah falls on Yom Tov, okay, what do? We postpone it. Now, here's the question. Olat riyah, I just told you, happens when? When you come up on the Shosh Regalim. So where is there a scenario, right, when the Olat Riyah will not fall out on Yom Tov? Every Olat Riyah is going to fall out on Yom Tov, correct?
No, not.
So when do we do it instead? The Olat Riyah is brought on Chol HaMoed. So Olat Riyah is always brought on Chol HaMoed. Chagigah would always be brought together with Korban Pesach, except if it's Shabbat, in which case the Korban Chagigah was pushed to Sunday, to Chol HaMoed Sunday. Okay?
Rabbi, Shavuot doesn't have Chol HaMoed though. It's one day.
Sorry?
Shavuot is one day. It doesn't have Chol HaMoed.
But there's
But if
2
it
days
falls out
Shavuot.
on Saturday, how do you bring Hagigah the next day?
No, there's no Hagigah on Shavuot. Hagigah is only Pesach. Olat Riyah you have Shavuot.
Not a problem.
If it's on Shabbat, it can be brought on Shabbat.
You have 2 days Shavuot.
No, definitely not on Shabbat. Olat Riyah is even. Shavuot, no, you have 2 days Shavuot in Chutz La'aretz. In Eretz Yisrael, you have 1 day Shavuot.
Don't mind me.
Right? However, what is important to understand is that the Gemara also considered Shavuot to have a time after it.
Until Yud Bet?
Ish. But the point is, it's not, because it's not a real Chol HaMoed. So normally there are halachot of Chol HaMoed. But Shavuot, the period after Shavuot, would not have a halachot, what's it called, of Chol HaMoed, but it would have a time when you could do the Olat Riyah. Okay? Now, let's continue. The Gemara says, Mani, who said this idea? Okay? The way we just explained this. Hachikama. So let's go back. Sorry. Chagigah v'chol zman chagigah ma'achrin. What does it mean v'chol zman chagigah? Chol zman chagigah now refers to the things that happen at the time of the chagigah, and the Gemara is explaining that to mean the olat riyah. Okay? So it's the things that happen in the time frame of the chagigah was telling you not just the law of chagigah being pushed, but also the laws of the olat riyah being pushed. Gemara says, Mani, who holds this way that olat riyah cannot be brought on Yom Tov? Yes.
Oh, I thought you just said it's always brought Olat Riyah, even if it's Shabbat, doesn't matter.
No, olat riyah is always pushed.
Oh, always push.
Sorry, Mechila.
Sorry.
Olat riyah is always pushed. Chagigah from Yom Tov, according in this Braita, right? And Chagigah is only pushed if it's on Shabbat. Okay. Now the Gemara asks, who says this halakha that you just told me? That Olat Riyah is always pushed. Bet Shammai. That's the halakha Bet Shammai. The Bet Shammai say, Mevin shelamim Yom Tov en somchim aleihem. You bring shelamim on Yom Tov, but you don't lean on the animal on Yom Tov. Avalo olot. But you do not bring olah. Bet Hillel says, Mevi'im shelamim ve'olot ve'somchim aleihem. You do all of those things. Now, hold on a second. Sorry?
It's a very famous machloket.
Yes, the big machloket. Now, I want you to notice one thing. Take a look for a second in Rashi. You see it's about 10 lines down in the wide lines of Rashi. Okay? Mevi'in shelamim b'yom tov. You see that? Shehen ma'achal adam. Shelamim is ma'achal adam. That's what the people need to eat. You see it? 10 lines down?
Yeah.
In Rashi. Shehen ma'achal adam b'yom tov. It's food for a person on Yom Tov. And we know on Yom Tov, ochel nefesh, things that are needed in order to eat, the halacha is you're allowed to do them. Uchtiv ach asher yachel l'chol nefesh. Ve'en somchin alehem, but you do not lean on them. Shasmicha shevutu. Leaning on an animal is a shvut. It's a isur derabanan. Okay? Elu hen mishum shvut, lo rochvin al gabe behema. Not allowed to ride on an animal. Midrabanan. Ve'al elu shiakrivu b'yom tov, yismechu me'etmol. They do semicha before. Why? Because you cannot have a korban that you did not do semicha on. Delet lahu lebet Shammai, tekef the semicha shechita. Bet Shammai does not hold that you need to do the leaning on the animal, where you put your hands on the animal and you do the prayer there's a prayer that you say before, either vidu, different cases that you do, but you do smicha, you actually put your body weight on the animal, indicating that my avonot or my zechut should, so to speak, be carried by this animal. So you can't do a shechita without smicha. So how does Bet Shammai hold that you could do the korban on Shabbat but not do smicha? The answer is because Bet Shammai does not hold that you need to have tekef the shechita semicha. You do not have to have the leaning on the animal right before the shechita. So when do you do the semicha? You do semicha before Yom Tov. No problem. It's not like if sick. And then when the time comes to do the shechita the next day, you would do the shechita. Now what's the indication over here? The indication is that from the shilamim you do avalo olot en meviin the savri lachem velo legavoa. They hold that the pasuk says that you're allowed to do ochel nefesh for human consumption. When it comes to an olah, where the portion of the animal is not eaten by a human being at all, so therefore you're not allowed to bring it on Yom Tov. Olah triyah, what is it? In olah. Chagiga is what? Chagiga is korban shilamim. Every chagiga is really a shilamim, okay? And how do you know it's shilamim? Because the person eats from it, not just the kohanim. So therefore, but besides for that, this korbanot, olah is only for Hashem. Right, but then there's a korban chatat, which is for Hashem and the kohanim. Shlamim is for the kohen and Hashem and you. So a human being is eating from this korban, and therefore, it's ochel nefesh. It's considered to be the consumption of a human being, which would be allowed on Yom Tov. So therefore, this idea that olat riyah is pushed because of Yom Tov is the opinion of Bet Shammai. Okay? Why? Because it's an olah, therefore it's not ochel Yom Tov. Bet Hillel holds, no, they don't hold of this idea that lachem is specifically now. Bet Hillel omrim, but Bet Hillel says Rashi, Mevin shalom olot, ma'ani mekayim lachem velo lenochrim. It has to be something which is purpose-led for a Jewish person. You can't do a melacha for someone that's not part of the tribe. But you're allowed to do a melacha for you, for your mitzvot, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, no problem. It's just you're not allowed to do for someone that's not Jewish on the holiday. You're not allowed to do that melacha. So therefore, Bet Hillel would hold that olat riyah, when do you bring the korban of shalosh pamim yireh kol zechurecha b'chag hamatzot b'chag haShavuot v'Sukkot? When would you bring it? You would bring it on the actual holiday. So it turns out, in a regular holiday, which is not Shabbat, how many korbanot are you bringing according to Bet Hillel?
Which holiday?
Pesach.
3.
Korban Pesach, Korban Chagiga, and Olat Riyah. Okay? How about on Shavuot?
2.
Olat Riyah. No Chagiga.
Just Riyah.
Olat Riyah. Now you have a different korban. You have, what's it called? They have the Shtei Alechem, but that's not brought by an individual person. That's brought by the Tzibur. Sukkot. Also, there's korbanot of the tzibur, all the bulls and the things.
Also just the one.
Azab, also just the one. Okay, so you bring olat riyah. Now many people would bring shilamim because that's what you would bring on the holiday. You bring shilamim, and you would also eat from it. But it's not mandated. It's not mandated like a korban pesach or a korban chagiga. Okay, let's continue. The Gemara says. 1 second here. Okay. So you'd be bringing, megilla, you'd be bringing a korban chagiga. It's just called shilamim, like I said earlier, on the other holidays, because that's what you eat. That's the simchat yom tov. The en simcha el babasar vayayin was the korban shilamim. Right? That's what we were talking about. Okay? So they would be bringing that shilamim and the olah according to Bet Hillel, and according to Bet Shammai, the olah would be pushed off always, because it's always Yom Tov, and the chagiga would either be pushed off or not be pushed off, depending on if it's Shabbat. Rava says chagiga kol zman chagiga me'achrim. The Braita, when it said that you push off chagiga and the time of chagiga, what did that mean? What were we trying to communicate? Chagiga v'chol zman chagiga me'achrim. This korban that you bring for the chag, that's why it's called chagiga, because of the chag, okay? This korban that you're bringing for the chag is you're able to push it off kol zman chagiga, the entire time of the chag. As we said earlier, when is the zman chagiga? All the days of the holiday, including the chol hamoed. Okay? So therefore he's saying you're allowed to push it off. Fair. More than that, more than the days of the holiday, you would not be allowed to push off chagiga. D'tanan. Mishlo chag b'yom tov rishon shel chag. If someone did not bring the chagiga on the first day for whatever reason, chogeg v'holech et kol haregel kulo v'yom tov acharon shel chag. You're able to do the chagiga throughout the entire holiday, v'yom tov acharon shel chag, including the last day of the holiday. Even here's the big chidush. Even when the last day of the holiday is Shmini Atzeret, which, as we know, is considered another holiday. So that was a big. It's clear the chagiga. Very interesting. Okay. Avar haregel v'lo chag. What happens if the holiday passed and you did not bring the korban chagiga? Eno chayav be'achriyuto. We don't say that you have to make a tashlumim. You have to make up for the chagiga the next day, because as we said earlier, the point of chagiga is a korban that's brought on the chag. Now it's not the time of the Hag. What are you going to do? Same way you can't make it earlier, you also can't make it later after the end of those days of the Korban Chagiga. Now the Gemara is going to bring a third interpretation. So we have so far two interpretations of the Gemara of the Braita. The first interpretation is Chagiga v'chol zman Chagiga refers to the Olat Riyah. The Chagiga is pushed and the Olat Riyah is pushed. The second thing that we're discussing, the second answer or interpretation of the Braita is the interpretation we just learned from Rava, is that the ways that it's not Chagiga v'chol zman Chagiga, Chagiga and the thing that comes with the time of the Chagiga, i.e. the Olat Riyah, it's Chagiga v'kol zman Chagiga. The Chagiga is pushed across the whole time of the holiday. Exactly. The
Almost
third,
at your discretion, so to speak.
no, it's lechatechila. It needs to be brought in the right time. But if you missed it, okay. Gemara then says, now another pshat. Rav Ashi Amar, Chagiga v'chol zman Chagiga me'achrim. What does it mean, right? If the Hag falls out on Shabbat, it's postponed, right? V'chol zman Chagiga me'achrim. V'afilu atzeret echad yoma me'achrim. Even in the case of atzeret, Rafi, where are you? Even in the days of Shavuot, okay, that is one day, me'achrim. We're allowed to push it off. D'tanan, modim shimchal atzeret yod b'Shabbat. Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel agree, if Shavuot fell on Shabbat, we know you're not allowed on Shabbat to bring either the Olat Riyah or the Hagiga. Sheyom Tavoach Achar Shabbat, that the next day is considered the day of Shechita for those Korbanot. Now the problem that we faced already earlier is that that's not the holiday. Remember, we said that earlier, right? However, we understand that in this situation, there's always going to be the period after Shavuot, which is allowed to be able to extend the responsibility for these days. Why? Because we know explicitly that there's no korbanot on Shabbat Shavuot, and we also know that I have a hayuv to bring it on Shavuot. So what am I supposed to do? So everyone agrees, Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel, that the day after Shavuot would be set aside as a makeup day. Now, would it be the holiday?
Like
the answer.
Sheni,
Sorry?
Almost like Pesach Sheni. Not the same thing, but similar idea.
I can't hear?
Right, Pesach. Why is Pesach Sheni later on?
Pesach Sheni has nothing to do with this. Pesach Sheni is for the Korban Pesach. Not Chagiga, not Olat Riyah. What that means is, if I miss...
Makeup day for those... Sorry. Oh.
What it means is that there's a makeup day for the actual Korban Pesach. Not a makeup day for Chagiga or for Olat Riyah. Okay? By the way, I'm not proficient in the laws of Pesach Sheni, but if I'm not mistaken, there's no Chagiga and there's no Olat Riyah, because even though it's like Mekdimina of the Megillah, we let you do this again on that day. But I don't think we don't turn that day into the holiday of Pesach.
No, just for the Korban.
Just for the Korban.
Just for the Pesach.
Right? Yeah. So therefore, you're seeing again...
That's why it's totally different from the day after Shavuot.
It's very different from the day after Shavuot. It's not a continuation. It's not a continuation of it, or the natural extension of the day.
No, it's Tashlumin for the Pesach specifically.
It's Tashlumin, exactly.
You mentioned that it's the same idea.
I was asking, isn't it the same idea, but it's not.
I'm sorry, what?
Do they bring some sort of proof that you can do it the day after Shavuot, or just because there's no other choice?
They've not brought a proof for that. They did not bring proof of that. But the idea that the Torah is obligating you to do it, and then abrogating that obligation with Shabbat makes you understand that there had to be a day that you'd be able to do it. So what day would that be? Now, here's the question.
Because they have no other choice.
Co-
So it's like,
correct.
It's almost like
Correct. Correct. There's no other choice. So since there's no other choice and it's one day, it has to be ma'achrin. Question is, why is it not makdimin? The answer to that would be that there's an element of Shavuot, the day after Shavuot. The day prior to Shavuot is nothing. Okay?
Rabbi, also here, if
Yeah.
I didn't complete the korban a day after, so I don't have to complete it after that day passed.
No, there's still an amount of days after Shavuot that we count as Chol HaMoed of Shavuot. They're not Chol HaMoed like Chol HaMoed of Sukkot, not like Chol HaMoed of Pesach. But Shavuot also had its period afterwards, which would still retain the festival days with regards to this.
So if for,
Okay? Rashi actually says, if you want to take a look. Yeah.
for some reason someone couldn't do it the day after, then there's a specific amount of days that they have.
Yes.
So if a guy was in the hospital or whatever it was,
In a scenario, no. See, that you have to bring a proof to. Because like what Rafi just said, it's not that there's just a general tashlumin that a person could do for whatever reason. Here we're finding a specific
Shabbat.
push,
Got it.
because of Shabbat.
so
Okay?
but it's more than one day though. Is that what you're saying? You said there's an amount of days.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Correct. You also have this quasi Chol HaMoed period, which follows Shavuot, where you'd be allowed to bring it. Which again has no other halachot.
Yishin.
Sorry?
That's why we say Yishin over 12.
That's exactly the reason.
Wait, so how many days is it then?
That's exact. But did you hear what he just said?
That's why you say Yishim.
We say Yishim until the 12th of the month. There's no Kiddushat to those days. What are we doing? The answer is, it's part of the holiday of Shavuot with regard to Tashlumin of the Korban. Okay? Let's continue. Oh, sorry. Let's wrap it here because this is a new sugya. Okay? Hazak Baruch Rabotai.